Hello and good evening, everybody. And tonight, I just want to give you a kind of a heads up of where I'm coming from tonight. When I'm bringing you this episode right now, I actually just got done with giving blood plasma, so I'm a little bit weary right now, but I'll just tough it out and just keep on trucking. Also, the reason I decided to do this episode tonight, despite the fact that I just gave blood plasma, is because I find out my national board results in about 5.5 hours or so, and I was like, you know what, this might, help me take my mind off of things, but I am on pins and needles right now because this is kind of big, and this could go south very, very easily. But anyways, to put all that beside us, tonight I'm going to bring to you another album ranking video, and I am going to focus tonight on American hard rock, blues rock artist Aerosmith. And yes, the main lineup being Steve Tyler on lead vocals, Joe Perry on lead guitar and occasional vocals, Brad Whitford on guitar, Tom Hamilton on the bass, and Joey Kramer on the drums. Now, I also need to give you another disclaimer before we go even further. I'm going to be brutally honest. Their work from 1987 and on, so the Permanent Vacation album going forward, I don't really care too much for. I know that they have their fans out there. I've interacted with them on YouTube and Facebook, but I just don't really see it that much. So I am not going to speak very highly of them. I'm just telling you that right now. I considered only considering their first 8 albums and just doing a 1973 to 1985 ranking. But you know what? I got some advice from a friend of mine, and she was like, nope, just do the whole thing. So I decided to follow the advice and do the whole thing. So let's go ahead and get started on this whole thing before we run out of time or anything. And 15th place may actually not be a surprise to too many people, but 15th place, their worst album for me, is their most recent one, 2012's Music from Another Dimension. And yeah, that is one of the worst album covers I have ever seen in my life. The album itself doesn't really fare all that much better. Love Triple X. It starts out with a spoken intro. It almost feels like it's trying to be some kind of sci-fi concept album. Very out of place, and if that's what they were going for, they failed. It is a somewhat hard rocker, but the thing about this album that I really hate is the production. It sounds like it is trying so hard to be hardcore. It's trying so hard to be hard rocking, and it just doesn't work. It comes out as just noise distortion. Steve Tyler's vocals are pretty bad on this also. He's doing way too much of this slurring vocalization, if that makes any sense. It was like, I don't know if I did that correctly, and I could never even hope to imitate him, but it just sounds really, really off. Oh Yeah is the next song. Pretty stupid title. It is a mid-tempo rocker, and again, it sounds like it's trying to be as loud as possible. Not a very great rhythm, and the vocals suck. Beautiful. Steve Tyler is just screeching and whining his way through it, and he fails. Tell Me is track 4. This is an attempt to be a ballad, and they do attempt that quite often on this album. It's not a very good ballad, and I'm going to say this right now, I am not the biggest fan of Aerosmith's ballads. What else we got? Out Go the Lights. That is track number 5. It has a decent rhythm, I'll give it that. It really sounds like it's trying to recapture the glory days of the 80s glam metal, but it doesn't really achieve that. There are female background vocalists. They don't work too well, no. Legendary Child, track 6. Seems like it's trying to be a hard rocker. Really does, but it fails. What Could Have Been Love is another crappy love ballad. Can't Stop Lovin' You. That is track number 9. Yeah, we have 2 love ballads really close together. This is also overly sappy. It's overly melodramatic. It has a guest lead vocalist in the name of Carrie Underwood. Why? When I used to work at the pool, I've told you this story many times. When I had to listen to the pop station on the radio, I heard that song over and over and over again. I don't even like her, and I think I know all the lyrics. It is so freaking annoying. Love Her a Lot, track 10. It's okay. It's all right. Might be the best this album can muster. Freedom Fighter is track number 12. Joe Perry actually sings this one. Now, Joe Perry is a far better guitarist than he is a lead vocalist. However, on this album, it might have been a good idea to let him sing it, because as I said before, I don't know what Steve Tyler is doing on this. Another Last Goodbye. Last track. That's track number 15. God, this album is way too long. It's another sappy, overly attempting to be emotional, melodramatic love ballad. It doesn't do too well. Yeah, as you can probably tell, I do not have many positive things to say about music from another dimension. So, 15th place. I'm sorry if you like that one, but this is my show, and it's my opinion. So next is going to come 14th place, and we're not going to fare too much better on this one because I'm going to go with Just Push Play. And this one came out, I believe, in 2001. Yeah. I had just decided to myself that I was not going to be into rap. I was not going to be into 90s alternative music. I wanted to be into hard rock and heavy metal. And so I listened to the classic rock radio a lot back then for some reason, even though it sucks. And music from this album came on it quite often, and I really learned to learn it, and I learned to not like it also. Let's check out the back. Okay. This album really reminds me a lot of what Def Leppard was trying to do around this time. They were trying to experiment a lot with various genres, and it didn't work with Def Leppard. Doesn't really work too well with Aerosmith either. Beyond Beautiful, track number 1, is a glam rocker. Okay? These guys still have not gotten the glam out of their system, and they're still trying to cling to, again, the late 80s era. Could have been worse, I'll say that. However, the title track, Just Push Play, is pretty much as far removed from their bluesy, Rolling Stones-like roots as they can possibly get, okay? I do not like that one. It's too polished, it's not well written, I hate it. This was one I heard on the radio a lot in high school, and I was sick of it in high school, and my opinion's not changed too much. No. Jaded is the other big radio hit. It also sucks. It's trying to be overly emotional. It's trying to have that kick to it that a lot of glam bands back in the 80s were really going for, and it absolutely fails. Fly Away From Here. That is track number 4. It is yet another love ballad. Still, it really sounds like it's trying to capitalize off that Armageddon song. You know, I don't want to miss a thing. Ugh. I don't like that song, and I do not like Fly Away From Here either. And I don't like the movie Armageddon either. It's not even the best asteroid comet movie that came out around that time because Deep Impact was better. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. Deep Impact was actually about people, okay? Armageddon was just about crappy Aerosmith songs, annoying characters, and stupid juvenile middle school-like humor. I'm getting a little bit off topic here. It's okay. Trip Hoppin'. Trip Hoppin' is track number 5. It's stupid, but it's good by comparison. I'll always give it that. It's still a rather bluesy yet glammy rocker. So, it's still trying to harken back to the blues days of the 70s, but it fails. Sunshine is nothing memorable. Love Lies is yet another ballad, and they're not good. Out of Your Head. Okay, this, again, kind of reminds me of stuff you might find on the X album or the 10 album by Def Leppard. It seems like they're almost experimenting with rap. Why? The last 3 tracks, I'm not going to go into too much detail because they're just more of the same. Nothing memorable, okay? Still trying to get another big, powerful MTV-like radio hit, and it doesn't really work. Avant Garden. It's, again, another glammy ballad. Tries to close out the album with style, and it doesn't really work. So, 14th place, just push play. Again, I'm sorry if you like that one. I don't. Okay, 13th place is going to be an album that came out right around the same time. And apparently I have the band cover art, or the cover art that was initially rejected. Well, I guess I'm a rebel here. 9 Lives. Yeah. They are definitely trying to sound hip on this one. They are definitely trying to sound cool. They are definitely trying to bank off whatever was popular around this time in 1997. But really, guys, they just sound bored out of their minds and out of ideas, which is not a very good combination. Okay? All right, the first track is the title track. Starts out with cats meowing. Get it? Yeah, there's also another album by REO Speedwagon called 9 Lives, and it was a lot better, so this is not even the best album called 9 Lives. Yeah. This is not even the best song called 9 Lives, because Def Leppard also has a song called 9 Lives, and while I'm not really a big fan of it, it's definitely better than the Aerosmith song. But yeah, it sounds okay for a little bit, but the chorus is not too good. Falling in love is hard on the knees. Get it? Yep. Okay. Are we going to stop giggling like middle schoolers? All right. It's a dumb song. Hole in My Soul is another pretty stupid ballad. Taste of India, that's track number 4. It starts out and it's trying to sound exotic. It's trying to sound, Far Eastern. Makes sense, okay? It doesn't work. It just sounds more like pandering inauthenticity. Full Circle, track number 5, okay? Almost sounds like country music meshed with glam. Not a good combination. Something's Gotta Give. It's a decent rocker for this album, okay? For this album, it is a decent rocker. That doesn't make it good, and it's still nothing special. Ain't That a Bitch, okay? Track 7. And no, I should not get censored. I'm just saying the name of the song, okay? Trying to sound bluesy really just comes across as immature. The Farm, for this album, that is not actually a bad song. It sounds like it's trying to harken back to the blues days of the mid to late 70s. I'm not saying it achieves that, but it's trying, and at least get points for trying. Crash is an okay, pretty decent, pretty fast rocker. Kiss Your Past Goodbye, track 10. Trying to be an emotional love ballad, trying to be an emotional song. I'm pretty worn out with these types of numbers from Aerosmith by this point. I really am, okay? But, it got them success, got them money and chicks, so don't blame them for following that path. Pink is horrible. Attitude Adjustment is a pretty hard rocker. One of the better songs from this album. I will say that at least, okay? Not saying much, but it's something. And then it ends with Fallen Angel, which is pretty boring, and I have not much more to say about it. So that was number 13, 13th place, 9 Lives. So let's see what 12th place has in store for us. Now, folks, on a couple episodes ago, I got ripped to shreds in the comments for including cover albums. Okay? Well, I'm sorry. Aerosmith has a covers album, and I am going to count it, okay? If you do not believe this should belong in the ranking, you can just skip ahead till I'm done with this album and just forget I ever said anything. Perfect solution, there we go. But 12th place is going to be Honkin On Bobo. Is that how you say it? I don't know. But yeah, this is a covers album of blues numbers. I'm going to be perfectly honest. Most of these songs I have never heard of before in my life until I picked this up. Okay? This is not my genre of music. However, at the same time, Aerosmith, despite their many, many faults, is in my genre of music, so that is the reason why I have this. Roadrunner, the very first song, is decent. Pretty good blues number. So is Shame, Shame, Shame. But then, believe it or not, in track 4, I have yet another cover of Baby Please Don't Go. I heard the AC/DC version. Then later I heard the Ted Nugent version. Then later I heard the Budgie version. And now I have the Aerosmith version. I still have not heard the original version. Kind of interested to hear what it sounds like. Maybe I'll pick it up one day. But yes, it's a decent cover. I don't mind it, okay? I think I actually like the Ted Nugent and the Budgie versions the best, but this is at least up there with the AC/DC version, which is, you know, okay. Songs on here I don't like. I do not like Never Loved a Girl. I do not like Back Train. But You Gotta Move, track 7 is alright. I'm Ready, track 9 is okay. Temperature Sucks, don't like that one. Stop Messing Around, I really do kind of like that one, okay? Very swinging, very bluesy rhythm. Again, harkening back to the early days. You could do a lot worse than that, yeah. Don't Like Jesus Jesus is on the main line, okay? Sounds more like gospel music. Makes sense. Not quite my cup of tea, but, you know, could have done worse, like the previous 3 albums. So yeah, Honkin On Bobo, 12th place. Not a bad covers album, okay? Not the best Aerosmith album, but, you know, it's definitely could be worse. All right, we are now in 11th place, and this is going to be an album that was really at the end of an era where their glam rock powerhouse started or was beginning to start to become irrelevant. And that is 1993's Get a Grip, and I really could have done with a better cover art. Ugh. Not a good album cover. We have an intro. I'm not going to say too much about that. Eat the Rich. Why? I think we've heard enough about that. But it's got a very fast beat. It's a somewhat hard rocker. Pretty disposable. It's definite glam. This was produced by, and I cannot pronounce this guy's name to save my life, so I'm going to do the very best I can here, but it's produced by Bruce Fairbairn. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but he produced their last 3 albums, this album, the 2 that came before it, which I will get to. And he also produced Slippery When Wet by Bon Jovi in 1986. And so that album was a huge success, and so he got lots of work after that. But yeah, Eat the Rich, you know, pretty hard rocker, but nothing to write home about. Title track, Get a Grip, has a pretty stomping drum-based intro. It sounds very powerful in some places, but still has that glam feel to it, but it is teetering on the blues, which I can at least respect it for, okay? Fever, pretty fast song, pretty bluesy, also disposable. Living on the Edge is one of the more popular Aerosmith songs. This one appears on a lot of the greatest hits compilations. At least the very first one that I picked up, and of course I didn't know any better, so I just grabbed what was over in the CD store. But, you know, it sounds like bluegrass in some places, which is a pretty interesting approach. I'll at least respect them for that, okay? Still not really a great song, but, you know, it's not trying to be glammy and over poppy and oh, love you, oh baby, I love you so much kind of thing. We'll get to that later. Flesh. I'm not crazy about the intro. It's got an okay beat. It's trying to sound very dark and very gloomy. I think I admire the effort. I like dark, gloomy stuff. The actual result, it was okay. Walk On Down, pretty standard rocker. Nothing to write home about. Shut Up and Dance. I was kind of hooked on this one until Steve Tyler opened his mouth. He's still kind of sounding whiny on this. He definitely, like I said, towards the latter ends of their career, really was going for the big radio hits, trying to appeal to a wider audience, in other words, women. So, yep. Crying. Nope. No, 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 no. No, no, no. I have never liked that song, okay? Too sappy, too overly melodramatic. No, no, no. Don't like Crying. It's gonna get worse, though. Gotta Love It. Sounds like it's trying to be hip, but it totally fails. Crazy. Oh my god, this song is ear torture. I have hated it since the very first time I heard it. Crying, I was kind of on board for a little bit. It was at least kind of catchy, but it still sucks. Crazy was bad from the very beginning. Lineup is disposable. Nothing I'm really writing home about that one either. Amazing is a sappy ballad. It's trying to elicit an emotional response, and it fails. Boogie Man is a very dark and gloomy instrumental, but it is short, I'll say that. It knew when to exit stage left, and it did that, and so I at least respect it for that. Maybe that makes that the best song on this album. You be the judge. But I'm gonna be the judge for a little bit, and Get a Grip is my 11th place Aerosmith album. So now we're in 10th place, and something I need to tell you, in the early to mid 80s, at least commercially, Aerosmith was in kind of a slump. They tried to have a comeback album in the mid 80s, and I thought it was okay, but it didn't really propel them back to where they were before. Commercially, this is the one that achieved that, and it was Permanent Vacation. Yes, that is my number 10 pick. Released in 1987. And like I said, at least from a critical standpoint, it was their first very big hit in a very long time. Okay? This, again, was produced by Bruce Fairbairn. I don't know. I'm in a weird mood tonight. Heart's Done Time. Starts out very promising, I'll give it that. Pretty hard-hitting rocker. Production is okay, all right? But it's pure glam. Magic Touch. Yeah, there's another song called Magic Touch by Kiss, and it's better than this song. Pretty hard-hitting, pretty powerful, kind of fun, but it's still glam. Ragdoll is awful, okay? That is one of the big radio hits from this album. I hate Ragdoll. I hate that horn section they have in the background also. Ugh. Don't like that at all, okay? It's too poppy, it's too glammy. I don't like it one bit, okay? How do you pronounce this? Simoria. Did I say that? Or Simoria? I'm going to say Simoria. It's a slower number, trying to be more emotional, okay? They've done worse, I'll give them that. Dude looks like a lady. No. I have never liked that song. Never before in my life. Apparently, it was written because Steve Tyler thought the guys of Motley Crue looked like women. Okay, you're not totally wrong there, but this song is just as stupid as their appearance, so I'm not really sure what you accomplished there. This song is permanently ingrained into our pop culture. We've all heard it. Some like it. I am not one of those people. St. John is one of the darker numbers on here. It's trying to be very swinging and bluesy, and at least in the beginning it does accomplish that. I will give it that. But once the band comes in, the whole song kind of falls apart for me. Hangman Jury, I don't know if I'm describing this correctly, but it sounds like a bluegrass number, and it's okay. The production is still glam, and it does not hit the high that it's trying to, but I don't mind it, okay? Girl Keeps Coming Apart. Pretty fast, sleazy rocker. It's good for this album. I'm not digging the horn sections, but for this album, it's good. Angel, no. Don't like it, okay? Sappy love ballad. Could just remove that from the album, and I would be totally fine with that. Permanent Vacation starts out, the title track starts out very promising. Has a very electric guitar intro. And then we get jungle noises in the background for some reason. I'm not sure what they're going for there, but I also don't care that much, but I'm sure someone will inform me in the comments section. It's a fast rocker. It's one of the better ones on here. It's not enough to save this album, but it's there. I'm down sounds more like a boogie rocker. Okay? Nice change of pace. It's not a big, oh, I love you, baby kind of number. It could have worked if it weren't for the very glammy production. And then the movie is a very gloomy, bass-driven closer. Yeah, not a lot of vocalization on here, and actually, for all intents and purposes, I guess this is an instrumental in spirit, at least, okay? It seems to be hinting at wanting to be hard rock again, but the production still kills it, all right? So overall, there are some catchy songs on here, but I am just not digging this one, okay? What are we up to now? We are in 9th place, yes, and this is going to be the one that came right after it. Out of the bad Aerosmith albums, this is the best one, and it's 1989's Pump. Get it? Young Lust. It's a fast rocker, okay? It kind of alternates between very fast and slowy, bluesy segments, but it's catchy, okay? Glam is not always awful. If glam is catchy, I am fine with it, okay? Young Lust is at least catchy. Then we have F-I-N-E, which stands for, and again, I am just quoting the artist, okay? I am just quoting someone else, so you don't need to censor me here. Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, emotional. Okay. It is one of the better songs on here, actually. It does not get a lot of praise, and I can see that because it's still not a great song. But in comparison to everything else on here, I think it's decent in comparison, okay? It's, like I said, very raunchy, very down and dirty, kind of catchy. If we had a better production, I think it would have been much better. So then we have kind of a two-parter with Going Down and Love in an Elevator. Yep, get it? Not that funny. Love in an Elevator is actually one of the better songs on here. And actually from this era, Love in an Elevator might be one of my more favorite songs from this era, okay? It's still glammy, okay? It's still kind of stupid, but it is catchy. I will give it that, okay? Even the worst of REO Speedwagon, I still give them props for being catchy, okay? But yes, we all know the song, Love in an Elevator, living it up when I'm going down. I'm not even trying there, okay? Monkey on My Back is a decent rocker, okay? Still glammy. And something I forgot to mention about this album, it was recorded apparently around the same time as Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood. So it's still from that era where glam is just really, really in at the time, okay? I think Dr. Feelgood has better songwriting. I think it does, but, you know, this is okay for what it is. Janie's Got a Gun, I have never liked, okay? I don't think it's that catchy. I don't think it's that good of a song, and it's not even a good Aerosmith song. The Other Side, however, I will give props to that one, okay? It's still stupid. It still has this horn section in the background, and I'm not sure why they're doing that, but it's catchy, okay? First time I heard it, I actually did not skip over. I was like, yeah, you kind of grip me here for a bit. I'm going to keep listening, see what's going on, and, well, I was unpleasantly surprised, so I'll at least give it that, okay? My Girl, it's right there. Another pretty sleazy rocker. Somewhat catchy, never gets quite get off the ground. Don't Get Mad, Get Even. Okay? Sounds similar to Don't Go Away Mad, Just Go Away, or Girl, Just Go Away. Okay? It's disposable. It's a rocker. Okay? I'll give it that, but it's disposable. Voodoo Medicine Man. It's a very bluesy song. Definitely more harkening on bluegrass. Kind of back to the old days, okay? Nothing special, but it's at least better than What It Takes. What It Takes is awful, okay? What It Takes is easily the worst song off this album. Just like Crazy, it is pure ear torture. Again, I hated it from the first time I heard it, okay? It's too sappy, too whiny. Steve Tyler sounds awful on that song. I hate What It Takes with a passion. So guys, I've been pretty negative so far, and I promise that's about to end. I actually really do love Aerosmith, and I did rank them as my 21st favorite artist of all time. And now you're about to figure out why, because now we're going to come to 8th place. And this album is going to come from a very weird time in the band's history. And they were definitely at the peak of their cocaine addiction. And Joe Perry and Brad Whitford were actually out of the band at this point. They were replaced by, here, let me look these guys up real quick. Give me a second. Sorry, I should have come prepared. The two guys they were replaced with were Jimmy Crespo and Rick DeFay. All right. Well, you've probably figured out by this point. 1982's Rock in a Hard Place. Now, I think this album is good in spirit. Just without Brad Whitford and Joe Perry, just something is missing on this album. But it's still got some pretty hard rockin' tunes on here that I really, really love, okay? Jailbait is awesome, okay? That's a very sleazy, very hard rockin' rocker. I love Jailbait. Lightning Strikes is a little too soft, actually. There's nothing really wrong with it, but, you know, I do like it. I do like Bitches Brew. Again, I shouldn't be censored. I'm just quoting the song title, okay? That is a good song. Bolivian Ragamuffin. Sure. I like Cry Me a River. I like the title track. I like the Jig Is Up. I like Push Comes to Shove. So again, these guys were still very coked out of their minds. They did not have two of the main driving forces behind the band, but I really, really like this one, okay? Pretty strong album, in my opinion, and they had not abandoned their hard rock, blues-based influences, and so that definitely elevates it quite a bit. So yeah, Rock in a Hard Place. Very underrated album. This goes at the bottom of a lot of lists out there. I think it's definitely worth another shot because I think a lot of people are missing a lot about this album because it's really much better than people say it is. So, we're now in 7th place, and this is the album that was intended to be their big comeback from their cocaine days after they finally got clean. And it was not as successful as they wanted it to be, but it was still an album that exists. 1985's Done with Mirrors. And yes, Brad Whitford and Joe Perry are back in the band, so they're back in full force, and I think we have a really great thing going right here, okay? Let the Music Do the Talking is a great opener, okay? Very hard rocking, very well written, and very, very catchy. Guys, don't quote me on this. I might be mistaken here. But I think while Joe Perry was out of the band, he embarked on a solo career of sorts. And this is a song that was actually a result from his solo career. But either way, the Aerosmith version is really hard rocking, and I really love it. My Fist, Your Face. Okay? Another hard hitter. Love it. I love Shame on You. The Reason a Dog might be one of the weaker ones on here. Yeah, I think it is. The Reason a Dog is one of the weaker ones on here. It's kind of ridiculous, okay? But it's not horrible. Sheila. I'm not so sure about this one. It's a little bit obnoxious, but again, its heart's in the right place. I might actually be biased towards this one because around the time I heard this album for the first time, there was someone I had to deal with every day named Sheila, and she was annoying as crap. So, I'm not really digging Sheila that much, but, you know, it's not a bad song. I love Gypsy Boots. She's on Fire is good, and it closes out very, very nicely with Darkness. This is produced by Ted Templeman, who you may know from his work with Van Halen, and I think he did a very good job on Done with Mirrors. By the way, speaking of the title, do you get it? Okay? They are now no longer doing cocaine, allegedly, apparently. And that's why they're done with mirrors. Haha, yeah. Do we get the... No, we don't. Never mind. I was thinking of something else. Never mind. But anyways, guys, I really wish that this had been the album that really brought them back from the pit of despair. Because I love the sound on Done with Mirrors far more than I love the sound of Permanent Vacation. And I have a feeling that if this had been more successful, they would have embarked down this style of music at least longer than they did. And I think we would have gotten more decently good albums after this. But, you know, I do love Done With Mirrors. So it's another one that's really fallen through the cracks, okay? The late 70s to mid 80s, all these albums are not as popular as they should be. And I really think that's a shame because there's some good stuff, okay? So that was Done With Mirrors. That was 7th place. So we are getting pretty close to the end. And so I am now going to go to 6th place. And this one also came out of this era. And this was unfortunately during a time when the band was starting to come apart. I think Joe Perry pretty much had one foot out the door at this point. And it really is a shame. They were still very, very high. But this is going to be In The Ruts. Okay? They switched the N and the R from a very common phrase referring to a specific male body part that I'm not going to go into any more detail on. So over here, whoa, that was not good. The songs are pretty decent, okay? They are still pretty hard rocking. Still have that Rolling Stones influence in it, which I really, really love, okay? Some pretty good guitar work on here. Yeah, it's a great album, okay? Still very bluesy, which I respect. And again, it was just a really definite shame that around this time, just internal tensions were at the absolute maximum, and the band would start to come apart for a little bit, but still, No Surprise is a great opener, okay? Okay, very, very Stonesy once again, very drug-induced, I love it. Chiquita, did I say that correctly? Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, I'll say that. Steve Tyler, he's bordering on parody here, but, you know, I like it. We have a cover of Remember, Walking in the Sand, okay? It is a Motown song. Aerosmith has done a lot of covers, actually, especially on these early albums. I think, yeah, most of these albums did have a cover on it. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them did. And, yeah, I think this album actually has several covers, actually. But yeah, Walking in the Sand is pretty good, actually. Yeah. The Motown version, I'm obviously not too big of a fan of because I'm not really into Motown, but I like this version. Cheesecake is okay. A little silly. Like 3 Mile Smile. Reefer Head Woman. Okay. Pretty good. I also like Think About It and the album closer Mia. So that was In The Ruts. Okay? I'm not really digging that cover art, but, you know, don't judge a book by its cover. But yes, that was In The Ruts. Another very, very underrated album. And again, this is one that's really fallen through the cracks, so pick it up. I really think you should. Okay, we're now in the top 5, and we're in peak Aerosmith by this point. And this would really be their last truly great album, okay? It was definitely the weakest one at this point in their discography, in their career, but I will say I do really love this album. I just listened to it recently, and I was mostly hooked, and that is 1977's Draw the Line. Was it 77 or 78? I'm gonna go with 77. Yeah, that sounds right. Again, that's a pretty stupid cover art. I'm not writing home about that either, but the songs, however, are really, really great. They're really top-notch. Draw the Line. Pretty fast, sleazy rock, you know. Very, very catchy. You know, we have heads, I win, tails, you lose, and somehow draw the line. Yeah, that's right. I did the best I could there, which was not very good. I Want to Know Why is a little bit whiny, but I do really like the rhythm, okay? And something I forgot to mention, the sound on this album is really great, okay? It's not underproduced. They did have an album earlier that was definitely underproduced, but it's not overproduced like the likes of Get a Grip and Permanent Vacation and Pump. it struck a very good happy medium, which I really like. And I want to know why. I think is it's very catchy, like I said, and it's very hard rocking, and I love the production. Okay, Critical Mass is good. Get It Up, pretty nice little sleazy rocker there. Yeah, I do like that. Bright Light Fright. Oh, what was that? Right, Bright Light Fright. Okay, this is a pretty standard rocker. It's pretty fast. Joe Perry actually sings it. And I think for what it's worth, he does a pretty good job on it, okay? There was a previous album where he kind of co-sung one of the songs with Steve Tyler, and he did sing on a lot of the latter albums that I've already discussed, but I think this was the very first time he ever sang lead vocals by himself. I want to say that. If I'm wrong, again, I am sure you are going to correct me. But yeah, Bright Light Fright, pretty catchy song, and good change of pace for letting Joe Perry sing it. Kings and Queens is kind of dark, kind of slow, and kind of sludgy, okay? It's an interesting change of pace, but I think it is good for what it is. Now, The Hand That Feeds, okay? First and foremost, I want to make this very clear. Never bite the hand that feeds. That should be the #1 lesson in life. However, for the song, it is the weakest song on this album. I don't like what Steve Tyler is doing. He's like, doctor, doctor, doctor. And I get that he's probably coked out of his mind, more than likely. But it's just kind of grates on my nerves a little bit. I mean, yeah, it could definitely be worse. It's not a glam song by any stretch of the imagination, so at least I'd be thankful for that. But compared to the rest of this album, I think The Hand That Feeds falls a little bit flat. But the rest of the album is pretty brilliant, actually. Sight for Sore Eyes. Dun 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 dun. I tried my best there. Yeah, forget I did anything. But yeah, we have Sight for Sore Eyes. Sight for Sore Eyes. Pretty funky, actually. I really like that, actually. It's probably one of the most well-known songs on this album, at least for this album. I think it's really incredible, actually. Yeah, I do like it. It's very, like I said, very funky, very bluesy, but it strikes a very delicate balance between being ridiculous and being, you know, kind of bland, but I think it did very well. And it's, like I said, it's one of the better songs from this album. Then we have a cover of Milk Cow Blues at the end, okay? It's a pretty decent cover, okay? I like it. I have no idea what the original sounds like, and quite frankly, I don't care. But this cover version, I do like it, okay? I think it's a pretty nice closer and nice bluesy atmosphere to round things out. So that was 5th place, Draw the Line. So we are getting pretty close to the cream of the crop here. This is now 4th place, and this is an album that I don't really think gets the respect that it deserves, okay? I will admit, Aerosmith has better albums. That is why this is ranked 4th and not 1st. So we got that out of the way. But no one ever really talks about this album except one song, and I think that's really a shame. And I think the album would have done a lot better if it had been produced better. This is not overly produced, it's underproduced, and that is The Debut. Featuring Dream On. Yep, they had to put that front and center. So over here on the back, this is their very first album, Make It, okay? Very stony opener, okay? Yeah, like I said, there's not a whole lot of punch to this. It's very raw and very in your face, I'll say that, okay? There's not a lot of pizzazz behind it, I'll say that, but I kind of like that, okay? It seems like, you know, this is a band that is just starting out, and they don't really care about what the public thinks. They don't care about, you know, making a big name for themselves. They just want to rock, and I really respect that. Make It is a very underrated song. So is Somebody. I did my best there. But yeah, I mean, Somebody, again, probably would have done better if it had a more hard rocking or at least less raw production, but it's good. All right, guys, we have Dream On. Yep, we've all heard it. Comes on the radio all the friggin' time, okay? You know, dream on, dream on, dream on, live. I liked it the first couple of times I heard it. It's still not a bad song. It definitely is not, okay? It's far from a bad song. It's overplayed, and that's what really I'm not too big of a fan of, is that it's just overplayed. But yeah, I mean, it's good for what it is. One Way Street may be one of the better songs on here. I'm not going to say it's the best, we'll get to that in a second, but yeah, it's almost like 7 minutes or so. It's like 7 minutes and change, and Aerosmith doesn't really usually write songs at that length, and I think that's pretty awesome, actually, okay? It's very bluesy, and it goes from segment to segment and just blueses along, and I think it's very catchy, and I think it is very underappreciated. However, the best song on this album is hands down Mama Kin, okay? It is fast, it is raw, it is aggressive, and it's catchy. And I keep messing up here. But yeah, I mean, it's got such a creative rhythm to it. It's got such a good beat to it. And man, that raw electric energy of the guitar, it just really sets it apart. It does have some horns in the background, but I think they accompany everything much better than they did on latter releases. Yeah, I do like Mama Kin, okay? Write Me a Letter and Moving Out are pretty good. Some of the weaker ones on here, but I still like it. But it all ends with a cover of Walkin' the Dog, okay? That's another 50s rock and roll song from the 50s. And of course, I'm obviously not that big of a fan of the original because I'm not into that kind of music. I do like this cover version. I do, okay? It's actually pretty aggressive, okay? It's actually pretty raunchy and very electric. I like it, okay? It's got a nice punch to it, I'll say that. So yeah, the debut, okay? You need to hear it if you haven't, okay? Some people only hear Dream On and just ignore the rest of the album. There's some great stuff on here, I'm telling you. So what are we in now? We're in the top 3 now. Now guys, these are 3 albums that I'm sure a lot of people are very passionate about. And guys, I did rank them in my top 3, so I am telling you straight up, all 3 of these albums are incredible. This next one, you probably expected me to rank number 1. I am sorry I didn't. Well, actually, I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry that I upset you if I upset you. But that is going to be 1975's Toys in the Attic. Yes. This is probably the most well-known album, actually. This is their 3rd album, and it kicks off very, very nice. Let me zoom in a little bit. Kicks off very nicely with the title track. You know, toys, 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 in the attic, toys, toys, toys. I love that opener. I love the title track, okay? Very fast, very aggressive. It's heavy also. Aerosmith was very heavy back then, and I really appreciate that. Okay? Uncle Salty. Okay. It's a blues song. It's like dun 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 dun. Sound familiar? There once was a woman, a strange kind of woman, the kind that left a trail of happiness and misery. Her name was Nancy. She's used to nothing fancy and yeah, it sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it? Yeah. The rhythm sounds very similar to Strange Kind of Woman by Deep Purple. Yeah. Strange Kind of Woman came first. I like the rhythm, so I'm not complaining because I also like Uncle Salty. But I don't know too many people who point this out, and I really think the rhythm sounds very similar, actually. Maybe they ripped it off, maybe they didn't. Maybe they were both inspired from the same blues number. I don't know, but I love Uncle Salty. Adam's Apple is much more upbeat. It's also kind of dark and kind of gloomy, but it's also heavy. Love it. All right, guys, we have Walk This Way. Should I say, Walk This Way! Walk This Way! Yeah, okay. It's overplayed, okay? It's kind of silly. I still like it. It's very catchy, okay? It's also very bluesy, which I also love, okay? I can listen to Walk This Way, okay? I don't care that it comes on the radio repeatedly. It's good, okay? Absolutely. Someone once pointed out to me that Walk This Way kind of sounds somewhat sort of like Dr. Feelgood by Motley Crue. I can definitely hear the similarities, but obviously this came out before Dr. Feelgood, so I'm not trying to make I'm not trying to imply that, okay? Insinuation. There, that's the word. Big 10-inch record is a cover. I am not familiar with the original version, but I'm familiar with this version. It's kind of bluesy, kind of slow. Not slow, but not very all that hard rocking, okay? It's very, very soft, at least softened compared to everything else. But man, Sweet Emotion. I love Sweet Emotion, guys, okay? Again, I know that it's, again, something that everyone knows about. This is a song that is permanently ingrained into our pop culture. I really love Sweet Emotion, okay? It's heavy, and it's got a great rhythm, a very creative rhythm. It doesn't sound like a standard hard rock song. It kind of meanders through all these different feelings, all these different rhythms. I really love Sweet Emotion. No More is probably one of the weaker songs on here, but it's good for what it is. Pretty hard rocker. But man, Round and Round. Dark number. Very, very heavy, okay? Dark and doomy, at least doomy in comparison. I love Round and Round, okay? You See Me Crying is one of their very first attempts to do a ballad. It's okay. It's all right. I'm not writing home about it or anything, but I kind of dig it. It's not like I don't want to miss a thing kind of love ballad. It's, you know, it's a little bit more restrained, I guess we'll say that. But, you know, it's good for what it is. So, yeah, that's it. Toys in the Attic. Great Aerosmith album. I am sure if you're watching this video, you've already heard this album. So I'm not going to go ahead and recommend it. But if anyone who is not familiar with Aerosmith just happens to click on this, here are Toys in the Attic. It's great. So now we're in the top two. And my next pick is probably their heaviest album to date. It probably is. It is their fourth album. I have reviewed it before on Album Rant, released in 1976, Rocks. And man, what an opener on this album. Back in the Saddle. You know, don't-know, 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 I'm back in the saddle again, I'm back. Tried my best there. I love Back in the Saddle, okay? It, again, keeps alternating between these two different rhythms. It's fast for a little bit, and it's kind of slow for a bit, and that is off-putting sometimes. I've spoken oftentimes on this channel that these two contrasting rhythms sometimes don't work. I totally think it works here. The song is absolutely bonkers, and I love every second of it, okay? Sounds a lot like a spaghetti western. I think I mentioned that when I reviewed this album. Love Back in the Saddle. It's one of their more popular songs, so I'm sure you've heard it. Okay, now we have Last Child. Don't. Very funky number, okay? Definitely very bluesy and funky. It was made popular by being on the game Guitar Hero, and of course all my friends in college are like, oh, you gotta hear this song, you gotta hear this song. I'm like, dude, I was into this song before that game came out, so like, chill, all right? Steve Tyler, he is on point with the vocals on this one, okay? He's got this screech going, but it totally works, okay? Sometimes it doesn't, when David Lee Roth does it, it totally works here. But yeah, funky song, seems to be going up and down a stair step, I love it. Rats in the Cellar, kind of a counterpart to Toys in the Attic. Pretty standard rocker, I like it, it's good. Combination, though. This is one that I think Steve Tyler and Joe Perry kind of share lead vocals on. I love it. It's dark. It is heavy. And the vocals are great. They swing along and they move along very well. It's like, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun. Try my best there. Sick as a Dog is pretty silly. You know, I'm not going to try to sing it. I'd butcher it. But it's kind of catchy, it's good for what it is, but very, very silly. But as Sick as a Dog is fading out, Nobody's Fault is fading in. This is the closest this band has ever been to heavy metal. I love Nobody's Fault. It's dark and it's heavy, okay? And the rhythm is great. The atmosphere is great. I love everything about Nobody's Fault. Nobody's Fault is definitely my favorite song from this album. Back in the Saddle is probably second place, but I love Nobody's Fault, okay? It's so bizarre but heavy at the same time. And even Metallica has said that they were influenced by this song. That is awesome. And I think they should do a cover of it, I really do. Get the Lead Out. Dun 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 dun. Kind of silly song. Pretty good beat though. I like it. Lick in a Promise. Yeah, Lick in a Promise. Pretty standard rocker, but it's heavy. I love the sound on this album. Love it. Home Tonight is, again, the big emotional conclusion. Probably trying to bank off the success of You See Me Crying. It's kind of a ballad. Yeah, not a bad one. Not the best song on this album, but, closes the album out in style, which I like. So that was my number 2 pick. And so, of course, you have probably figured this out by this point. What is my number 1 pick? Well, it is the only one left, and that is their second album, 1974's Get Your Wings. And I have also reviewed this before on Album Rant. I love every song on here, okay? We have the intro. We have the first song. It's the same old story, same old song and dance. The song is called Same Old Song and Dance. Yeah. It's great. It's very catchy, very stonery, very bluesy. Got a saxophone in the background, accompanies it very well. Lord of the Thighs, obviously kind of sexual in nature. Pretty laid back song. I dig it, okay? Spaced. When I reviewed this, I mentioned that I first thought that I initially was like, this sounds more like a Nirvana song, actually. I don't know why I thought that. I just did. It sounds like something they would have done, but they didn't. Aerosmith did. Love Space. Woman of the World is a pretty out there, pretty fluid rocker. It's pretty good. I like it. It's still very hard rocking. SOS Too Bad. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. It's a much faster song, okay? It's very fast, very aggressive, very hard rocking. But guys, my favorite song from this album is without a doubt their cover of Train Kept A-Rollin'. Yeah. Originally recorded by Tiny Bradshaw. Yeah. This has also been covered by Twisted Sister and Motorhead. This is the best version, I am telling you. Train kept a-rollin' all night long. Train kept a-rollin' all night long. Da-da-dun. Love Train Kept A-Rollin'. One of the best covers I have ever heard in my life, okay? Very bluesy, but very dark and heavy, okay? I love the dark atmosphere that they have created on this number. Seasons of Wither. Train Kept A-Rollin' flows out. Seasons of Wither flows right back in. Very dark, haunting, moody ballad. Love it, okay? It's got such a dark, depressing atmosphere, but it just so totally works, okay? I love that they didn't do the same song every time. They varied it up. They'd have a hard rocker, a ballad, a blues number. It all works so well. And then it concludes with Pandora's Box, okay? Maybe not the heaviest song on here, but it's a decent song, and it closes things out very well. Sweet Pandora. Da, 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 da. All right, I tried there. So that is going to conclude my Aerosmith album ranking review. And thank you all for putting up with my attitude tonight. I know I'm a little bit different than I usually am. Situation is different. But to recap one more time, number 1 was Get Your Wings. 2, Rocks. 3, Toys in the Attic. 4, The Debut. 5, Draw the Line. 6, Night in the Ruts. 7, Done with Mirrors. 8, Rock in a Hard Place. 9, Pump. 10, Permanent Vacation. 11, Get a Grip. 12, Honkin On Bobo. But if you don't want to count cover albums, then just forget I said anything. 13 or 12 without covers. 9 Lives. 14 or 13 without covers. Just push play. And 15 or 14 without covers. Music from Another Dimension. Down at the bottom where it belongs. Now, guys, I know I said some very negative things about Aerosmith tonight. I want to be very clear. I love Aerosmith. Those first 8 albums are really top-notch and some of my all-time favorite albums. I just think afterwards they kind of lost a sense of integrity and they kind of were trying way too hard to appeal to what was popular at the time. And I really think it came across as inauthentic and pandering, and it just didn't really work for me. I really love it. I'm really happy for you if that glam rock works for you. It just did not work for me, but I still love Aerosmith as an artist, and overall, I really wish I'd be able to see them in concert. I had my ticket. I was ready to go, and the farewell concert got canceled because of Steve Tyler's health problems, and it seems I will never be able to see them. I was supposed to see him in 2012 also with ZZ Top. That got canceled also. So some things just aren't meant to be. But anyways, next week I will be back with an artist who is going to get shot down in flames. But until then, have a very pleasant evening.